Hi, I'm Sean Tacey, President and CEO of Local Loop. The presentation you're about to watch is a culmination of 6 years of research and investigation, comprising of 4,000 customer surveys and 2,000 surveys of small businesses just like yours. The results of our research are striking, as they evidence a change in the marketplace that your business must be prepared for. A quick note about our presenter, Jason Gaylord. Jason is our founder, our chairman, and our chief visionary officer. 2 weeks before we shot this video, he lost one of his front teeth in an accident. Rather than delay the shooting of the video, we elected to move forward as scheduled. Because Local Loop is about merit and truth, and not about judging a book by its cover. The information that we have for you is that important. So without further ado, we present to you Change Your Business, Change Your Future.
Today we're going to talk about changing our businesses in order to change our future. Obviously, we've seen how the economy has changed drastically since 2008, and there's something that's incredibly devoid in our marketplace today, and that's the truth. So during this presentation, we're going to unveil the truth. We're going to accept it, we're going to face it, and basically we're going to be honest about it. So each business that we talk to faces a number of remarkable challenges. Advertising that used to work in the past no longer works anymore. Buying cycles seem to be extending because people don't have nearly as much money. And frankly, all of the overload of different types of marketing tactics and tools that we can implement make it incredibly difficult. Well, today we're not only going to talk about that challenge, but we're going to ask you to see the rest of the presentation through the eyes of a consumer. Because frankly, before we're business owners, before we're managers, as James said earlier, we are consumers. So frankly, half of the marketplace can't get into Local Loop, and we'll share why as we move forward. But as such, we operate from Napoleon Hill's mentality that it's as useless for me to try to sell you something until I've first made you want to listen as it would be to command the earth to stop rotating. So one of the things that I'm not going to do is sell. I'm going to be in sweatpants today. I'm going to be comfortable. And frankly, I got in a car accident a few months ago. And considering this isn't a looks contest, you're here to see me speak. I hope you don't mind. We're going to take that out. So right now, every business faces 5 major advertising and marketing problems. And the first is economic conditions are diluting the marketplace. Every day I turn on the television, I listen to the media, or I open up a newspaper and I read. I hear about the economy struggling. I hear about a number of reasons why, but frankly, a lot of it is smoke. And frankly, today we're going to demystify what's wrong with the economy and why it's encroaching on all of our businesses. We're going to talk about why 95% of all advertising and marketing expenses are wasted and don't make money. The thing I like to talk about with my clients is it's a lot more fun to flush it down the toilet and watch the money circle away from you than it is necessarily to spend on a yellow page ad. As a result of that, we're going to talk about why, as consumers, people are sick and tired of advertising and marketing, and how we're doing anything and everything we can to avoid it or eliminate it altogether. We're going to talk about how the internet is leaving most small business owners in the dust. I have a saying that the internet ages in dog years. For every traditional year that goes by, the internet ages 7. Google was founded in 2002, and look how immersive they are in our lives. Facebook was founded in 2004, and most everybody today has a Facebook fan page. And finally, the most important challenge that we're going to discuss today is why consumers have a difficult time finding reliable businesses. But before we get started, we're going to talk about the economic conditions diluting the marketplace. In 2004, Alan Greenspan addressed Congress and said, "I see very serious difficulty for our economy, say 2011 and forward, as a large increase in baby boomers leave the labor force and join retirement." The numbers I find are extremely disturbing. Well, Alan Greenspan, while he's an economist, I think we can all agree he's a political economist. And in this quote, he used a very, very concrete and specific year, 2011. Well, let's look why he didn't provide an age and understand a little bit more of the dynamic behind what he was trying to say. So what we're going through right now is not a recession. It's not something we've seen over the past 15 to 20 years. It's actually a generational market shift where we're transitioning from one generation commanding the marketplace to basically a new. Well, the baby boomers, born between the years of 1946 and 1964, there's a total of 80 million baby boomers in the marketplace. Well, in our society, we have 2 specific ages, one more important than the other, but one that's silently, equally as critical to our ability to retire. On average in America, we retire at 65 years old. It's when we get the highest payout with Social Security, and it's also kind of a year that we've looked to for many, many years as the time when we will retire. Well, I don't mean to make this a math test, but let's take a look at 1946 plus 65. It's 2011. 1964 plus 47, which is the year, according to the United States Bureau of Labor and Statistics, we reach our peak in spending as consumers. So 1964 plus 47 is 2011. What Alan Greenspan knew when he addressed Congress in 2004 was that 80 million consumers in a marketplace driven 70 to 75% by consumer spending were either going to be kicking up their feet and never spending the way they have ever again, or they're going to take their wallets, put them in their back pocket, and save for that nest egg, that retirement plan that we all hope to reach. Well, the reality is not so much that we need to recognize where and how the baby boomers spend the money. We need to recognize that we're not that different after all as consumers. And in order to illustrate that, I actually use our lifetime real estate expenditures. So when we're 18 to 21 years old, we're either living at college or we're living at home. And the reason is we can't afford to live anywhere else, or that's where we're at this time in our lives. At 25 years old, we're in an apartment. And the reason we're in an apartment is the idea of living with mom and dad makes us sick to our stomach, and we can't afford to live anywhere else. So we move into an apartment. At 33 years old, we get into our starter home. Now, the reason we purchase a starter home is, in most cases, because we have kids. And in America, we will beg, borrow, and steal to provide the white picket fence lifestyle for our children. Now, at 44 years old, we move up into our trade-up home. And the reason we move up into our trade-up home is twofold. We're making more money, so we want to show the fruits of our labor, and our kids are larger, so we need more space. Then at 47 years old, we reach that peak in spending, and just right after, something strange happens. As a matter of fact, there's a great American corporation sells the vast majority of their product to 50-year-old men. It's Harley-Davidson. And frankly, we buy Harley-Davidsons at 50 years old because the first time in 20, 30 years, we have discretionary income. We can actually afford to buy the motorcycle, and our wives actually tell us, if you kill yourself, not a big deal, the kids are out of the house. Well, it's also when we buy motor homes, it's when we're going to go out and buy vacation homes. It's generally considered the midlife crisis. And then at 65 years old, we downsize. Well, the reality is this is very similar and familiar for each of you because it's how the vast majority of us process through life. So paying attention to this information can lift the veil on a lot of the secrets to the marketplace. But the question that nobody's asking as baby boomers start retiring en masse last year and this year is, what about the generation behind? What about Generation X? Well, I have a saying that generation size equals market size. If there's 80 million consumers in the baby boomer generation, my business has the opportunity to sell to all 80 million of those people. Now, the likelihood's probably not very high, but the possibility is there. So Generation X, born between the years of 1965 and 1980, has a total population of 52 million consumers. Or more importantly for this, 35% fewer buyers, 35% fewer shoppers, 35% fewer consumers. So again, in an economy, in a marketplace driven 70 to 75% by spending, how can 52 million possibly spend to the same amount as 80? Now, combined on top of this problem is the fact that as the baby boomers get into their retirement years, we've seen over years and years and years that they're marathoners, they're triathletes, and they're going into doctors today and they're saying, my hips are shot, my knees are shot, and they're asking for them to be replaced. The greatest generation that preceded baby boomers, a total of 48 million, when their knees went out, when their hips went out, they got Vicodins and wheelchairs. What's going to be more expensive moving forward, Vicodins and wheelchairs or artificial hips? So on top of a smaller generation, we also have incredible costs that are going to burden. So the question I ask you is, how possibly can we keep the spending train going the way that we have? The truth is we can't. So what does this mean for our businesses? The truth is we need to aggressively fight for a larger share of a smaller piece of the pie. Because just recently, the Fed announced that interest rates are going to be held at nearly zero through 2014. It doesn't matter what the politicians are saying. It doesn't matter what the media says. That's the greatest indicator that the economy isn't going anywhere for those 2 years. And frankly, there's not the buyers or the spenders. So the definition of insanity, as I know it, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Well, as we go forward in the next portion of the presentation, we're going to show you very clearly the insanity that business owners continue to perpetuate day after day, year after year. And it starts with the fact that 95% of all advertising and marketing expenses are wasted and don't make money. I have here a chart that talks about how we spend money as businesses. There's $200 billion a year annually spent on advertising and marketing. And the problem we have is that 95% of that $200 billion is spent on the now buyer. The customer that wants to make a purchase, whether it be for a car, whether it be for a new pair of shoes today. Well, the reality is, as we move forward, we're tuning all of these messages out. And frankly, it's maddening to us because we no longer passively interact with advertising and marketing, wait to hear a radio ad to go to a Ford dealership, wait to see a television ad to go to Supercuts to get our haircut. In today's marketplace, we passively wait for nothing. We actively search for everything that we need online and through Google, which makes this massive investment incredibly difficult for consumers to swallow. So much so that consumers were asked by Yankelovich Research, which is the largest consumer research firm in America, what 5 things they thought the government should more strictly regulate. And the first was air pollution. The next is water pollution and toxic waste. We only need to look last year to what happened in the Gulf of Mexico as oil is billowing out from the bottom of the Gulf, ruining fisheries and ruining the lives of many people. We can't have that happen again. We saw in Japan an earthquake that disrupted nuclear reactors, and we had a very real fear that that nuclear waste would cross the Pacific Ocean and potentially come on our shores. Well, the first 4 things that consumers asked the government to more strictly regulate can kill us. The 5th, advertising. I want you to take that in. 4 things that consumers think should be more strictly regulated can kill you, and the 5th literally annoys us to death. And as a result of annoying us to death, we are tuning it out on a regular basis. We are sick and tired of the messages. During 2002 to 2004, I personally conducted 4,000 phone conversations with consumers. Not surveys, actual conversations, asking, what is it that you want from advertising and marketing? How would you like to find the businesses when you have a need for a product or service? And it was really simple, very simple. We're tired of looking through a haystack to search for the needles. Won't somebody step out and extract the needles from the haystack for us and put them in a nice, tiny little stack? Because what we learned in those surveys was that 83% of the consumer marketplace said finding trusted businesses through advertising and marketing was incredibly difficult. 79% said finding quality information, like good data to help me make a decision, was almost impossible. 72% basically said the messages were irrelevant because they said the same thing, and 68% said it was nearly impossible to make a decision. Now let's take a look why. And if I can grab a volunteer from the crowd, please. You right here, you're the closest. Now this right here is a Yellow Pages book. It's indicative of advertising and marketing because it's a channel of communication. So I'm going to ask and your name is? Ryan here to go through the book and find me in the Yellow Pages section just one ad. Just one ad that says our quality is marginal, our prices are high, and you'll be completely dissatisfied with your end result. So are you going to find an ad that says our quality is marginal, our prices are high, and you'll be completely dissatisfied with your end result? You won't. I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
So we won't find an ad that says that. Have we heard it on the radio? Have we seen it on television, an ad that says, we stink, come buy from us for no logical, rational reason? Of course we haven't. But as a show of hands in here as consumers, how many of us have done business with a company that's quality was marginal, prices were high, and we were completely dissatisfied with the end result? So all of us have had that experience. So is it any wonder that we don't believe advertising and marketing? Everybody says they're great at what they do, yet we experience something less than that. Well, on top of it, we've become incredibly lazy in how we communicate. So I've got 3 books also from Bellingham, Washington. So in my first book here, I've got the McGregor Yellow Book. Now, the most expensive ad in this book is the back page. And on the back page, we have the Buckland Shoe Firm saying, "Injured, we can help." On the Verizon Super Pages book, we have on the back the Brett Coates Law Firm, "Injured, we can help." Now here, on the back of the action pages, what do you guys guess is going to be on the back of this book in a small marketplace like Bellingham, Washington? What do you know? "Injured, we can help," the roofing firm. So if, unfortunately, I lived in Bellingham, Washington, and I was involved in a car accident, and unfortunately hurt my back or my neck, and I needed a personal injury attorney, how would I know which one of those three were better, different, or worse by their advertising and marketing? This is what we see on a regular basis. Lowest prices, satisfaction guaranteed, family owned since 1431 BC. And we no longer believe it anymore. And as a result of it, we're becoming more and more immunized by the information around us. Now, if you live next to this elevated train in Chicago or in New York, psychologists will tell you within 3 weeks, you'll be able to go to sleep. The first week, you're going to be questioning, why the heck did I move into this place? Your second week, because you've gotten no sleep, your eyes are going to be bugging out of your head. And frankly, everyone's going to say, what the heck is wrong with you? In week 3, you finally go to sleep. Well, they also say that once you learn how to sleep in this environment, if you go sleep somewhere quiet, you're not going to get a minute of sleep. Well, yesterday, from the time your heads lifted the pillow in the morning, the time it hit the pillow at night, you saw 3,500 advertising and marketing messages. The reality is very few of you remember seeing 3,500 logos, but we do. And because we see so many logos, so many marketing materials that frankly don't help us make better, more informed buying decisions, we're doing anything and everything we can to eliminate it. We're actually in a high-tech arms race against advertising and marketing. We have the do not call list. We have anti-spam technology. We have digital video recorders that allow us to fast forward through television commercials. And frankly, as we speak right now, the United States Postal Service and the Direct Marketing Association are fighting the do not mail list. Because ultimately, all we ever get in the mail is either junk or bills. And frankly, we're tired of that. So what we need to understand is if you're spending any money on advertising and marketing, you're wasting it. Because as consumers, not as business owners or managers, we're tired. We want to be respected, and we're looking for something different. And unfortunately for small business owners, where we're looking is the internet. The web has become the mother of all marketing channels. Yet for consumers, there's a real problem that they encounter. And that problem is the number one activity on the net is searching for product or service-related information to help me make a better, more informed buying decision. This is according to the United States Department of Commerce, a fairly credible source. The problem for all of these people that are searching for what they want and need is there's a great divide between the small business community and the consumer. And that divide starts with the fact that 82% of us as consumers are using search engines to find product and service information locally. The challenge is 40% of the time we're doing these searches, we don't find information that we know exists. Now, why would we not be able to find something that we know exists? Could it be that 51% of small businesses, even 10, 12, 15 years after the internet has exploded on the marketplace as the most valuable tool for the consumer, still don't have a website? Well, one of the things we talk about at Local Loop is that sayings become sayings for a reason. There's validity to them. Birds of a feather flock together, jack of all trades, master of none. Well, how many of you like to run into a brick wall? Well, unfortunately, I'm not going to as a consumer. If I'm looking in a marketplace like we're here in the home show for a local contractor, why not go to Home Depot, which is the largest home show that the world has ever seen, 365 days a year? I mean, the reality is small business owners, a few bad apples are spoiling the whole dang bunch because they don't care enough about educating consumers to truly help make a decision that will benefit them. So how does your website stack up? How do the websites that you view as consumers stack up? Well, in my time consulting small business owners, 99% of the owners say they're directly involved in creating their marketing. Yet 51% believe that their marketing is fair, poor, average at best. Is that good enough? Average or poor results, yet I'm spending 3 or more hours a week on creating advertising and marketing for my website, and only 9% of us are satisfied with our efforts. So how many of you are looking for the truth? We know the economy isn't going to be bright or exciting for some time. We know that advertising and marketing from a consumer perspective is falling upon deaf ears. So what is it that we want? What is it that we need? Well, the first thing that we need to do is recognize that everything we've learned about advertising and marketing has changed. We have things like Google, Bing, Facebook, Twitter, interactive blogs, websites like Local Loop. All of these things are changing the dynamic with which and how we communicate. The challenge is, at the same time all these new mediums are coming to the fore, we still have the yellow pages, we still have television, radio, and they're knocking on our doors and they're trying to sell us the advertising because they need to make money like the rest of us. Well, on top of having those mediums, we now have search engine optimization, social media, pay-per-click advertising, customer relationship management, content management systems, and our heads are literally spinning on our necks out of control. What do we do? Well, MTV Networks commissioned a study asking how technology, PDAs, cell phones, iPads are changing our lives. And what they have found is we're packing 29.5 hours of productivity in a 24-hour day. So when your customers say they don't have time, when you say that you don't have time, the reality is it's true. So you throw up your hands because there's too much to do, there's too much to know, so I'm not going to do anything. And what ends up happening is everything stalls. Well, the truth is these new marketing initiatives can help your business tremendously if we understand how best to leverage them, if we actually have people that will tell us the truth in our businesses. And our fifth challenge is, and that's that consumers in this new marketplace, in this new world where we have an internet, in this new world where we still have all of the old traditional mediums, is finding businesses that we can trust. So who do we trust? Well, we talked earlier about sayings become sayings for a reason. Well, we don't initially trust people that we don't know. Respect is given, trust is earned. When a client meets you for the first time, you may think that you're the best solution for their particular situation. Well, the reality is everybody coming before and after you is saying the same thing. And the truth is consumers don't like to be sold to. I've now done over 10,000 surveys of consumers, and I've yet to hear more than 20% of them, usually salespeople, that say they like talking to salespeople. And the reason is because we like to have insider information, and salespeople aren't very good about providing inside information. They're pretty good at providing their information. Well, I promise you, Martha Stewart didn't spend an 18th month stretch, in prison because she didn't want to know when the right time was to sell that stock. Well, frankly, the truth is most people are looking for the insider information. Now, the next is we, in most cases, have to make our purchase decisions based on some type of logical fact. It's very rare on a hot summer day that we're going to pull into a car dealership and buy a convertible Corvette, a convertible Mustang, simply because it felt good that day. Usually we think through our decisions. As we're thinking through them, very rarely will we make the decision based on the lowest price. In most cases, we make the decision based on the lowest risk. And if right now we went out to the parking garage and we did a field trip, you would see my point evidenced in front of you. If everybody made the decision based on lowest price, we'd see a bunch of Ford Festivas, a couple of souped-up Dodge Pacers, a couple of, different, less than spectacular vehicles. That's not what we're going to see. We're going to see maybe a Mercedes, maybe a Lexus SUV, maybe a Honda. And the reality is every one of the consumers that made those purchase decisions had a different reason for why it was the right decision for them. But again, it's always low risk, very, very rarely low price. But so as consumers, because we have a hard time finding people we can trust when advertising and marketing all says the same thing, and when frankly 70% of the consumers that we surveyed said under no circumstances will we refer, even if we're satisfied beyond all belief because we don't want to interject ourselves in another person's relationship, only to have that potential relationship go sideways and be in the middle of somebody else's mess. So we go to places like Angie's List, Facebook, Google, Yelp, Merchant Circle, and the like. And the truth is, these are double-edged swords for businesses. Facebook, as an example, there's a company out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, T&J Towing. Well, they towed a guy one morning, was parked in front of his house legally, This guy's a car hoarder. You might have seen these people when you're pulling into the grocery store. Everything they've ever owned is packed inside their car. Well, his parking placard was obscured by all of the mess. And so T&J Towing hooked everything up, go down, take it to the storage lot. Guy comes out in the morning for work, where's my car? Calls T&J Towing, and they say, well, your car's down here in storage. You're going to have to come down here, pay to get it out within the next 24 hours. So the guy said, excuse me, you improperly towed my vehicle, yet I have to come down and pay? That's exactly right. Well, the guy went down, paid the $300+, went home, and created a Facebook fan page, Kalamazoo Residents Against T&J Towing. Within 2 weeks, there was 14,000 fans of Kalamazoo Residents Against T&J Towing, and 2 weeks after that, they were out of business suing that customer for libel and slander. Well, in the old days, they'd say you dissatisfy a customer, you'd tell 15 people. Today, you dissatisfy a customer, they go on a social network and they can tell however many friends they have in an instantaneous way. Yelp is real people, real reviews. Well, competitors of mine can go online and they can rate Local Loop at Yelp without any control or recourse for me whatsoever. And frankly, as people become to be more reliant on these types of reviews, it's incredibly important we do whatever we can to maintain our reputations. But all of these, what we call Web 2.0 mediums, are broken. And here's why. So Google, on its surface, on its first page, is advertising free. And every other search engine was like a carnival of pop-ups, pop-unders, and twirling ads. This was like an oasis for us. We could search for what we wanted, what we needed without little confusion. But is Google an ad-free network? Absolutely not, because last year, they generated billions and billions and billions of dollars, with which 96% of it was derived from advertising. So here we have these books like the Yellow Pages that are broken, and these new mediums are trying to force what didn't work back into our lives. Well, in terms of Google's own internal research, very, very few web visitors click on any of these ads. Why are they there? Not to help us make a better decision, but for Google to make quite a bit more money. Then you have companies like Merchant Circle, funded by Disney. They realize that this is how business owners and consumers will communicate in the future. And here I've searched for pizza in Mountain View, California, and all I'm inundated with is advertising. Look at all the Google-sponsored links. If I wanted to search for pizza in Google, I would have gone to Google and not Merchant Circle. This kind of stuff is prevalent. Take a look at a Merchant Circle profile page. We read as consumers from left to right. I doubt Hammerschmidt Construction is excited that Sears Kitchen and Bath Remodeling is to the left of their name. And below that is 4 or 5 other businesses within their category that can be recommended. Well, think about it yourself as consumers, how often you click on something that you didn't intentionally click on. So if I want to learn about Hammerschmidt Construction, why are you introducing me to Sears? Why are you introducing me to these other contacts? Well, here's the truth. If you're looking for a solution, the only solution that you're going to find that respects the customer and truly understands the business owner is Local Loop, and here's why. And we're going to use colleges to help illustrate my point. We have 2 four-year colleges here, Harvard and Central Washington. Central Washington grad right here. So ultimately, if I was to apply for Harvard, I have to have a 4.0 grade point average. I have to have probably a perfect score on my SATs. I had to sit on student government probably the 4 years of my high school career. And I had to get 25 to 30 letters of recommendation, and only then would I hope I got into Harvard. Now, my wonderful college, alumni of Central Washington, a little bit different. I like to joke around with my friends that it took 2 things to get into Central. And the first was a heartbeat, and the second was a check that wasn't made of rubber, and the gates of the university opened to me. So after I graduated from college and I'm looking for a job, let's say that I, as a Central Washington graduate, go up against an applicant that went to Harvard. As an employer, the employer is going to be able to differentiate that the guy from Harvard's probably a little bit more qualified than the one that went to Central. Now, what I challenge you is the only thing that makes Harvard different than Central is that barrier to entry. All the prestige, all the power, all the cost is gone within a month. If Harvard lowers their entry requirements, to match Central Washington University. So when it comes to colleges, when it comes to so many things that we do, performance is what's required to get in the loop. Well, when it comes to advertising and marketing, what's the barrier to entry? Can anybody tell me? Money. If I've got money, I can get on the radio. Doesn't matter if I'm a con man. If I've got money, I can get on the television. It doesn't matter if I'm looking forward to stealing the last people's money before I go out of business next week. As long as that check doesn't bounce, the gates of any advertising and marketing medium will open to you. And frankly, as consumers, we all get that. And that's why we no longer pay attention to it. Well, frankly, the only thing that's going to change the game for business owners is to demand a higher standard. Because high standards is what creates a higher level of satisfaction. So to get into Local Loop, a business has to have an 80% or better customer satisfaction rating based on a minimum of 20 verified reviews. So if you've got a 65% based on 16 reviews, I don't care if you got $1 million, you're not getting in the loop. And the reason for that is because consumers over and over and over said, will somebody take a stand and require ethical and accountable business practices? Will somebody help illustrate who the good guys are and who the bad guys are so that it's easier and easier for me to make a decision because I can't tell? As business owners, we need to embrace internet technology because that's where, as consumers, we are going. And we can't just build a website and throw a brochure and with a little bit of interactivity think it's going to work for us. We need to educate the consumer why we're better, why we're different. And the only way that you can do that is by raising the bar within your organization. Demanding more from yourself, demanding more from your staff, but buying into third-party customer satisfaction ratings. And the reason why we're so adamant about third-party customer satisfaction ratings is because people are non-confrontational. And if you do a first-party survey and say, hey, how did I do today? I'm sure all of you guys would say I gave a great presentation. I'm sure a number of you would leave and say, gosh, that guy likes to talk. It's not always going to be positive when you hear feedback in a third-party capacity. It's why one of the reasons people hate high school so much is because we never go and confront the person we're upset with. We go and tell everybody behind their back that we have a problem. And ultimately, that's the only way that truth is unearthed. So with that said, we started at the top of the presentation with how we face challenges as business owners. Well, economic conditions are diluting the marketplace. Local Loop is a performance-based model. 50% of the marketplace can't get into Local Loop because they're not good enough. 95% of all advertising and marketing is wasted. Okay, well, Local Loop, once you're certified, is a free service. As long as you maintain your 80% or better satisfaction rating, you never pay for your placement. People are sick and tired of advertising and marketing. Okay, there's no sponsored links. There's no banner ads in Local Loop. And more importantly, we respect the privacy of our users completely. Unlike some of the biggest names in the internet world, we no longer think that privacy is an antiquated notion. We believe privacy is something that we hold near and dear to our hearts. Internet technology is leaving most small business owners in the dust. Well, frankly, we've brought it all together under one roof. Consumers said, I don't want to go to 1-800-DENTIST to find my dentist. I don't want to go to Avvo to find my attorney. And I don't want to go to Angie's List to find my contractor. I want to be able to go one place and find everything, one place that I can trust. Well, from a business owner perspective, they said, gosh, I'm tired of going to Facebook for social media, Constant Contact for email marketing, High-Rise or Salesforce for customer relationship management. I'm tired of going to all these different places. Can't somebody bring it all together into one easy-to-use medium? And finally, potential customers have difficulty finding reliable businesses. Well, Local Loop is performance-driven. Only the best of the best gets into the loop. So ultimately, as we leave this presentation, I'd like to leave you with one of my favorite quotes of all time, and it's something that I believe passionately. Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Well, all 3,500 of these advertising and marketing messages that you saw yesterday can be eliminated. And they can be eliminated by leadership. We all created it. We're the ones that made the noise. I'm pretty sure we can raise our hands and say we get it now, and we're going to end the noise.
Hi, welcome back. Now that you know the 5 greatest challenges facing your business in the new marketplace, the call to action is now. The consumer is changing and will continue to change. And if your business does not change with them, you'll be left behind. At Local Loop, we don't get paid for identifying these challenges or the shifts in the marketplace, but rather creating a solution that will enable your business to meet the evolving needs of the consumer, now and in the future. Go to localloopsolutions.com and register today for our next presentation and learn how Local Loop can change your business to thrive in the new marketplace. You'll be glad that you did.